In today's video, I want to update you on Android and the new infotainment system on these new Harley Davidsons. Why is it not there? Why is it not built in? Can you get it to show up? What are the workarounds? And there's currently a bug. If you're using your Android phone, just Bluetooth to your bike, I bet you're having some cutout issues. And we're going to talk about that as well. So real quick, on my last video, I talked about modifying this vent. And a couple of you have asked me if modifying the vent would allow that vent cover to scratch the paint. Would it rub if you allow it to open further? And I didn't get a very good shot of it, so I wanted to update you here. So if we open the vent modified all the way, you can see there's still a gap there. So there's a gap all the way across, and it's not rubbing at all. But one thing to note, if you close your vent, so in the stock position, this is not modified, it actually does rub along here. But more importantly, it rattles, so it creates some noise. And I found having the vent completely closed just creates a lot of buffeting. So I really find that ineffective. But if you missed that video, I'll put a link at the end of this one so you can check it out. So why is Android Auto not built into the new Harley-Davidson infotainment system? Well, Harley's been claiming from the beginning that Google says they're not going to support motorcycles anymore. However, you can search the internet all over the place and even look on Google's page. People have been asking, and Google has had no response. Many have pointed out that current bikes still have Android Auto, and the 2024 Goldwing still has Android Auto, and believe it or not, the Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited with the older boom system still has Android Auto. So if Google has turned it off for motorcycles, why is it still on the current year model bikes? Well, I think the explanation there is neither infotainment system on the Goldwing or on the Harleys with the old boom system have been updated, right? The infotainment system hasn't been updated. So I think they've been grandfathered in to allow Android Auto to still be on those devices. But on the new infotainment systems, we're not seeing it. So it's not there on the new Indians. My understanding is it's not there on the new BMWs, and it's certainly not on the new Harley Davidsons. One thing that's interesting, when the bike came out, I did a bunch of Googling. So as we were waiting for these new Harleys to show up, I kept Googling. And I actually found the manufacturer of the infotainment system, and the Harley is a company called Visteon. And if you do some Googling, you'll actually find a Visteon user's manual. If we take a look, this is the Harley ICFU Infotainment Control Unit User Manual. And then they have a picture here that is clearly not the IFCU. But if we scroll down, it's got the model information, it's got a system information diagram. One thing that I noticed here is if you look at the A to B connector, they show Sirius XM. So they have the Sirius XM module from the boom system, and they show that here, and they mention it, external XM module. My gosh, I wish Sirius XM was included in these new bikes. I may just be old, but riding a Harley with the Sirius XM built in was really nice because that GPS antenna just works so well, even very remote areas. So I could always have classic rewind or classic vinyl playing even way out in the boonies on a Sunday afternoon. So I wish this was true, and maybe we'll see it someday. It certainly was considered when they were designing the system. Going down further, we have some pictures. And this was some of the early releases of the menu. If you notice here, we have the gear icon for settings, but look, right next to it is the Android Auto icon, and then next to that is the CarPlay icon. So clearly, Android Auto was to be in the new ICFU, in the new Harley infotainment system. But for whatever reason, it didn't make it in. I recently received a comment in one of my videos from a gentleman named Reynolds. Really appreciate you reaching out. And he sent me this picture. So when he pulls up to his house, I think it's jumping from the bike Wi-Fi over to his home Wi-Fi. And he gets this message, reconfiguring Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi network change, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay will stop and restart. So there we go, an Android Auto reference in the system. Clearly, it's supposed to be there. So it's very unfortunate. The only thing we have is really a verbal statement from Harley-Davidson saying that Google will not allow them to turn it on the bike. And Google has absolutely no response to this. So it creates a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration and a lot of pointing the finger at Harley, which Harley certainly doesn't need. I think it would be really great if Harley would put an official statement out. They must have something from Google that said they can't do it. And I think they should share that with the riding community, because this has created a lot of frustration. There is a lot of Android users out there, and we're all looking for Android Auto to be on these new bikes. And clearly, it's in the operating system. We have the evidence. So hopefully, possibly, if we keep pushing, maybe it'll get turned on. If you remember the boom system had the same issue. We had CarPlay, and then later we got Android Auto. So some of you have thought that Apple has an agreement where you can't offer Android Auto. And then maybe that contract expires after a certain amount of time, and then the manufacturer can turn on the Android Auto. So is it Apple's fault, Google's fault, or Harley's fault? Boy, really nice to see an honest answer here and have something concrete to point to. But either way, whoever's at fault, this is a big mistake. We need to have Android Auto available on these new bikes. I want to talk about a recently discovered bug with an Android phone, just Bluetooth to your bike for media and or for phone calls. It really doesn't matter. So I have my S21 paired to the bike. Currently it's set to only for phone calls. But it doesn't matter if you have media turned on as well, they still have the bug. So you're riding along listening to the radio. So I have the FM radio currently on. So I'm just listening to the radio and a phone call comes in, or you simply tap the power button by accident and you are kicked out of your radio and you're set to Bluetooth. So it switches over to the phone. So it doesn't matter, every time your phone wakes up, for a phone call or for a notification or for anything, if you're listening to the radio, it's going to take control and switch it over to your Android phone. Very annoying if you're just riding along listening to the radio, suddenly it goes away. So Harley is aware of this issue and there's a case open on it. And Harley reported that they're actively working on it. There is no setting in the Bluetooth or anywhere that I could find that made any difference. As soon as your phone wakes up, it takes over control and you lose listening to your radio. I want to thank Al who pointed this one out to me. Hopefully we'll see a fix soon from Harley, but also that means we'll see another Skyline OS update coming. Maybe we'll get some navigation improvements as well. So if you really want Android Auto on your new bike, you can look to a magic box or an AI box. These are meant to convert wired CarPlay to wireless CarPlay, but some of them also allow you to have then wireless Android Auto. So if you've been following my videos, when you do the Skyline OS updates, once you apply that, these boxes do not display correctly anymore. The gauges on your bike cover up the interface of the AI box. The key is to find an AI box that is built on Android OS version 10. If you have a box that is 11 or newer, which most of them are, it doesn't display correctly. I could not find an Android setting or a setting in the box to resize the screen or anything that would fix this overlay issue. And I've actually now worked with a couple of these vendors and they've had no luck and no suggestions have worked. So there has been no fix. So the key is to search for one that has Android OS version 10. So this original Kameco one that I featured in my video has been sold out for a very long time. And I've held on to this one for troubleshooting and helping people out. But it's about one of the few that still work. But I keep trying. So I search Amazon and I keep ordering boxes and trying them out. And I actually scored this one by Onince. I have no idea how you pronounce that. But this box on Amazon shows that it has Android OS version 10. And guess what? It works. And they have a limited stock. It showed 20 available at the time I bought this one. So I'll put the link in the description. Again, it's my affiliate link. I really appreciate it if you order it through my link. And I'll get a small kickback for referring it to you. Costs you nothing. and I do appreciate the support. So hopefully by the time you're watching this video, one of those 20 are still available. So if you're going to use one of these boxes, you'll connect it via the USB-C port. Many of them have other ports on them. The USB-A port usually works to charge your Android phone. So you plug in the USB-C to the bike, and then you can actually plug your phone into A and it will charge. Some of them actually allow the Android Auto to work wired through this port, so it supports data and charging. So the box is fairly small and does fit in this cubby. So you'll just connect it. You must have a headset paired. It is going to use the CarPlay interface to start the box. So you must have a headset already paired and connected before connecting the box. So when you connect your box and it boots up, you're going to launch it by clicking the CarPlay icon. Sometimes it will auto start, sometimes it won't. If it was the last selected setup you had, booting the bike, I find it boots right in. So we'll go to our menu here, we'll pick CarPlay, and it will launch the Android Auto interface, and there you go. From this point, you will Bluetooth your Android phone to the box, not the bike. So I highly recommend, if you have your Android phone paired with the bike, that you delete that pairing. And you're going to pair your phone to the box, and then you'll launch the Android Auto icon, and you'll be in Android Auto. And again, with these boxes, you can go into settings and in the Android settings and tell it that you just want to launch Android Auto every time it boots up instead of its built-in interface. So that way it'll boot up, connect to your phone, and you'll be in Android Auto without having to go through this menu system. All of these boxes, they are buggy. They can overheat. They don't connect. You have to disconnect it, reconnect. So I will say for many of you, you report that it works reliably, at least reliably enough to be worthwhile. But if you want Android Auto on your new Harley Davidson, you may have to fight for it. I have hope that one day I'll be able to make a video that the Android Auto system is now built into the new infotainment system. That's a video I'm looking forward to making, and hopefully it'll happen someday. I really want to take a moment to thank everybody. We just topped 3,000 subscribers. I really appreciate all the support. And if you find this type of information useful, I'd encourage you to hit subscribe. Help me grow this channel, and maybe we can get Harley's attention and make some difference in their world. But as always, until next time, in the Friction Zone.